Heart chambers and blood flow. 1. Right side of the heart. Right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the body through the superior and inferior vena cavae. Tricuspid valve. Located between the right atrium and right ventricle, it opens when the right atrium contracts, allowing blood to flow into the right ventricle. Right ventricle receives blood from the right atrium and contracts to pump this deoxygenated blood through the pulmonary valve. Pulmonary valve. This valve opens to allow blood to flow from the right ventricle into the pulmonary arteries, directing blood to the lungs for oxygenation. 2. Left side of the heart. Left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs via the pulmonary veins. Mitral valve, bicuspid valve. Located between the left atrium and left ventricle, it opens to allow blood to flow into the left ventricle when the left atrium contracts. Left ventricle receives oxygen-rich blood from the left atrium and contracts to pump this blood through the aortic valve. Aortic valve. This valve opens to allow blood to flow from the left ventricle into the aorta, which distributes oxygenated blood to the entire body. Valves and their functions. 1. Atrioventricular valves. Tricuspid valve prevents backflow of blood from the right ventricle into the right atrium during ventricular contraction. Mitral valve prevents backflow of blood from the left ventricle into the left atrium during ventricular contraction. Function. These valves open passively when the atria contract, allowing blood to flow into the ventricles. During ventricular contraction, increased pressure forces them closed to prevent backflow, facilitated by the action of papillary muscles and chordae tendineae. 2. Semilunar valves. Pulmonary valve, located between the right ventricle and pulmonary artery. Opens during ventricular contraction systole to allow blood to flow into the pulmonary artery and lungs. Closes when ventricular relaxation, diastole, occurs to prevent blood from flowing back into the right ventricle. Aortic valve. Positioned between the left ventricle and aorta. Opens during ventricular contraction, systole, to allow blood to be pumped into the aorta and systemic circulation. Closes during ventricular relaxation, diastole, to prevent blood from returning to the left ventricle. Function of the heart. The heart functions as a pump to circulate blood throughout the body. Right side receives deoxygenated blood from the body and pumps it to the lungs for oxygenation. Left side receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and pumps it to the rest of the body. The coordinated action of the atria and ventricles, along with the opening and closing of valves, ensures that blood flows efficiently and in the correct direction. Deoxygenated blood to the lungs and oxygenated blood to the body's tissues. This unidirectional flow is crucial for maintaining adequate oxygen supply and overall metabolic function. In summary, the heart's structure and function are intricately designed to support systemic circulation, ensuring that all organs receive the oxygen and nutrients they need while efficiently removing metabolic wastes.